The alien ship appeared in Earth's solar system on a quiet Tuesday morning. Its sleek, silver hull reflected the sunlight as it moved past Mars, making its way toward Earth. Inside the ship, Chief Researcher Du Jin adjusted his long, blue fingers across the control panel, his large eyes blinking at the readings before him. "Such a young species," he said to his assistant. "They've barely left their planet." He looked at the data again, noting how humans rarely lived past 100 years. In comparison, his people usually lived for 500 years or more. The human diplomats waited in the United Nations building in New York. Among them stood Captain Hansel, a retired Marine with 30 years of service. While the other diplomats wore fancy suits and dresses, Hansel chose to wear his dress blues. The medals on his chest told stories of battles fought and wars won, though the aliens wouldn't understand their meaning yet. "Captain, are you sure wearing your uniform is wise?" asked one of the diplomats. "We want to show them our peaceful side." Hansel smiled slightly. Sometimes, showing strength is the best way to keep peace. He had learned this lesson many times during his service. The alien ship landed in Central Park, drawing thousands of onlookers. News cameras broadcast the event worldwide as the ship's door opened with a soft hiss. Du Jin led his team down the ramp, their tall, slender forms making humans look small in comparison. "Welcome to Earth," said the UN Secretary-General, stepping forward with open arms. Du Jin bowed slightly, following the custom his team had observed from Earth's broadcasts. "We bring greetings from the Galactic Council." His universal translator worked perfectly, converting his musical language into English. During the first meeting, Du Jin and his team shared information about their civilization. They spoke of their advanced technology, their peaceful expansion across the stars, and their mission to welcome new species into the galactic community. Hansel sat quietly, watching. He noticed how the aliens spoke about peace and cooperation, but their eyes kept moving to the weapons carried by the security teams. They seemed confused by the very idea of armed guards. "Tell us," Du Jin said, turning to Hansel, "what is the purpose of your colorful clothing? Are you a leader of some kind?" "I'm a Marine captain, retired," Hansel answered. "I served in my planet's military forces." The aliens looked at each other, their expressions showing what seemed like amusement. "Military?" Du Jin asked. "Ah yes, we observe your primitive defense forces. You still fight with physical weapons." Hansel's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Sometimes the old ways work best." The meeting continued, with the aliens sharing their advanced medical knowledge and clean energy technology. They spoke of eliminating poverty and disease across their worlds, of ships that could cross galaxies in days. But they kept returning to what they called Earth's charming, but primitive ways. "Your species is young," Du Jin said kindly. "With our guidance, you will soon move past the need for soldiers and weapons." As the meeting ended, one of Du Jin's assistants asked about the medals on Hansel's chest. "Are these for dancing?" she asked, reaching out to touch one. Hansel gently stepped back. "No, ma'am. Each one tells a story of service and sacrifice." "Sacrifice?" The alien seemed confused. "What purpose does sacrifice serve in peacetime?" "To maintain peace," Hansel replied. "Sometimes you must be ready for war." The aliens laughed softly, the sound like tinkling bells. They didn't understand. How could they? Their society had never needed to fight for survival. They had never faced true threats or hard choices. As Hansel watched them return to their ship that evening, he thought about all the things they didn't know about humanity, about the wars that had shaped human history, the battles that had forged their character, about the thin line between civilization and chaos, and the warriors who stood on that line. The aliens thought humans were harmless, primitive beings who would soon learn better ways. Hansel knew differently. He had seen humanity at its worst and its best. He knew what humans were capable of, both the good and the bad. "They'll learn," he muttered to himself as the alien ship rose into the darkening sky. Sooner or later, they'll learn. 1 month after first contact, Ambassador Yi-Jin arrived on Earth with her assessment team. Their ship landed in Tokyo, where they would begin their official study of human civilization. Unlike Du-Jin's research team, Yi-Jin's group had the power to decide if humans were ready to join the Galactic Council. Such a busy planet, Yi-Jin said, watching cars move through the city streets. Her silver robes shimmered in the morning light. They moved so quickly, always rushing. Captain Hansol stood nearby, assigned as their guide. He watched as the aliens took readings with their advanced devices, measuring everything from air quality to human brain waves. They seemed especially interested in places where humans gathered in large groups. "Why do they meet in such cramped spaces?" asked one of Yi-Jin's assistants, pointing to a busy coffee shop. "It seems inefficient." "Humans enjoy being close to each other," Hansol explained. "We're social creatures." The aliens visited a school next. They watched children play in the playground, their devices buzzing with activity. When they saw two boys wrestling, Yi-Jin quickly moved forward. "They're fighting," she said, alarmed. "We must stop them." Hansol placed a gentle hand on her arm. "They're just playing. Look at their faces. They're laughing." Yi-Jin stepped back, confused. "Your young practice combat. For fun." "It's not combat," Hansol said. "It's how they learn about their strength, their limits. It's natural." The assessment team spent the afternoon in a military museum. They walked past displays of tanks, planes, and weapons from different time periods. Hansol noticed how they avoided looking directly at the more violent exhibits. "Your species keeps reminders of conflict," Yi-Jin said, her voice soft. "Why?" "To remember," Hansol replied. "To honor those who served. To learn from the past." One display caught Yi-Jin's attention. A wall of photos showing soldiers helping civilians. There were pictures of Marines building schools, delivering food, and treating the sick. "This doesn't match our data," she said. "These warriors, they're helping." Hansol nodded. "That's what most of our military does in peacetime. We build, protect, and help." Later that evening, the assessment team gathered in their temporary office at the UN building. They discussed their observations while Hansol sat quietly in a corner, listening. "Their contradictions," one alien said. "They play at violence but show kindness. They build weapons but use them to keep peace." Yi-Jin looked through her notes. "Their technology is basic. They still use combustion engines. Their medical science is primitive. They haven't even cured the common cold. But their military equipment," another alien added, "it's more advanced than their other technology. Why would they focus on weapons?" Hansol cleared his throat. "May I speak?" The aliens turned to him, surprised. They had almost forgotten he was there. "You keep looking for simple answers," he said. "Humans aren't simple. We fight because we must, build because we can, and help because we should." Yi-Jin typed something into her device. "You speak of fighting as if it's necessary. The galaxy has been at peace for 1,000 years. Hansol stood up slowly. "A peace kept by what? By hope? By good intentions?" He walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. "Peace is kept by those willing to defend it." The aliens whispered among themselves in their musical language. Their translator was off, but Hansol caught words like primitive and aggressive. Finally, Yi-Jin spoke. "We have much more to assess. Tomorrow, we will visit your United Nations peacekeeping force. Perhaps that will help us understand your dedication to military matters." As the aliens filed out of the room, Hansol stayed by the window. He thought about how these peaceful beings had never faced real threats, never had to fight for survival. They had never learned the hard lessons Earth had learned. "They think we're primitive because we know how to fight," he said to the empty room. "They don't understand that knowing how to fight isn't the same as wanting to fight." The city lights twinkled below, peaceful and bright. But Hansol knew that peace wasn't just the absence of conflict, it was the presence of strength. Someday, the aliens would understand that too. The emergency alert flashed across all screens in the Galactic Council chamber. New Eden, humanity's first colony world, was under attack. Space pirates, a rare sight in the peaceful galaxy, had launched a raid against the young colony. Jin read the alert with mild concern. A minor security issue, he told the other council members. The pirates will leave once they take what they want. That's how it usually works. But Captain Hansol, watching from Earth's observation seat, saw something in the data that made his blood run cold. The pirates weren't just stealing, they were killing colonists. We need to respond, Hansol said, standing up. His voice cut through the quiet murmur of the council chamber. Those are our people dying out there. Ambassador Jin blinked her large eyes. Surely you don't mean military action. The pirates will leave on their own. They always do. In orbit around Earth, the 5th Marine Expeditionary Unit was already loading into their ships. Commander Jeho stood in the hangar of the U.S. Kennedy, watching his Marines prepare for battle. Unlike the sleek alien ships, human warships were built for function over beauty. They carried guns, missiles, and most importantly, angry Marines. Listen up. Jeho's voice echoed through the hangar. Our people are dying on New Eden. The aliens think we should wait it out. What do we think about that? Ora! The Marines shouted back. Their response needed no translation. Back in the council chamber, Hansol received the message that human forces were mobilizing. He smiled slightly as the aliens around him continued to debate the proper diplomatic response. I should inform the council, he said, standing again, that Earth is launching a military operation to defend New Eden. The chamber went silent. Jin dropped his datapad. You're sending soldiers? He asked, shocked. But the pirates have energy shields. Your primitive weapons can't. Hansol cut him off. With respect, you don't know what our weapons can do. You've never seen humans fight. Commander Jeho's fleet jumped into hyperspace, using the drive technology Earth had recently gained through trade. In the lead ship, Jeho reviewed the enemy data one last time. The pirates had better shields and faster ships, but they had never faced Marines before. Sir, his communications officer called out. The Galactic Council is ordering us to stand down. They say we're violating peaceful contact protocols. Jeho looked at the message, then at the picture of New Eden's burning capital city on his screen. Send them our response. What response, sir? Tell them we're coming to save our people. They can either help or stay out of our way. The alien council members watched in horror as human warships appeared near New Eden. The pirates, used to no resistance, had scattered their ships across the colony's space. They weren't prepared for organized military resistance. What are they doing? Jin asked, watching the tactical display. Their ships are moving straight toward the pirates. Hansol stood at the display, hands clasped behind his back. They're doing what Marines do. They're fighting back. The first shots were fired near New Eden's moon. A pirate ship, confident in its energy shields, didn't even try to dodge the human weapons. That was their first mistake. Human engineers had studied alien shield technology and designed weapons specifically to break through them. Impossible. Jin shouted as the first pirate ship exploded. Their primitive weapons shouldn't be able to. We're not as primitive as you think, Hansol said quietly. We've just had different priorities. As the battle unfolded, the council chamber watched in stunned silence. Human ships moved with purpose, cutting off escape routes and targeting pirate vessels with deadly accuracy. When Marines boarded the remaining pirate ships, the aliens saw something they had never witnessed before: trained human warriors in action. They'd fight like nothing we've ever seen, Jin whispered. They're not just fighting, they're hunting. Hansol nodded grimly. Pirates threatened our people, killed innocent colonists. Did you really think we would just let that happen? The battle for New Eden lasted less than 6 hours. When it was over, The pirates were either captured or destroyed. Commander Jaiho's Marines had saved the colony, but more importantly, they had shown the galaxy something important. Humans might look harmless, but they were anything but. 3 days after the Battle of New Eden, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. The alien representatives wanted answers about humanity's unexpected show of force. Captain Hansol stood at the center of the chamber, ready to explain. Before we begin, Hansol said, I've asked military historian Sungmin to join us. He gestured to a small woman in glasses who carried a datapad. She looked out of place among the tall aliens, but her eyes showed sharp intelligence. We want to understand, Ambassador Yi Jin said, her voice shaking slightly. How can such a young species fight like that? Those Marines moved like they had done this many times before. Sung Min stepped forward. Because we have done this before. Many, many times. She tapped her datapad, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed Earth, but not the peaceful blue planet the aliens knew. This was Earth during what we call World War II, she explained. The hologram showed cities burning, armies clashing, and machines of war rolling across continents. It was just one of many global conflicts in our history. Du Jin raised a hand. You mean your entire planet fought itself, all at once? Twice, Hansol said quietly. We called them world wars. In the second one, more than 70 million people died. The chamber went completely silent. Even the usual soft hum of alien technology seemed to stop. But why? Yi Jin asked, her large eyes wide with horror. Why would you fight your own people? Resources, power, different beliefs. Sung Min changed the hologram to show more battles from human history. Humans fight for many reasons, but through fighting, we learned important lessons. Hansol pointed to a scene showing soldiers helping civilians escape a battle zone. We learned that fighting isn't just about destroying. It's about protecting, saving lives. That's why your Marines moved so effectively at New Eden, Du Jin said slowly, understanding beginning to dawn. You've had practice, real practice. More than practice, Hansol corrected. We have experience, traditions, rules of warfare passed down through generations. Sung Min showed them more images. Medics treating wounded enemies, soldiers building bridges in destroyed towns, peacekeepers standing between angry crowds. You see, she explained, humans learned to be good at fighting because we had to. But we also learned when not to fight. That's just as important. One alien council member stood up. But your weapons, they cut through pirate shields like they weren't there. Hansol smiled grimly. When we got access to alien shield specifications through trade, our engineers worked day and night to find ways through them. Not because we wanted to fight, but because we needed to be ready. Ready for what? Yi Jin asked. For exactly what happened at New Eden, Hansol answered. There are always threats. If you want peace, you have to be ready to defend it. Sung Min changed the hologram one last time. Now it showed Earth's modern cities, peaceful and bright. This is what we fight for. Peace, safety, the right of people to live without fear. The aliens whispered among themselves. They looked at the peaceful Earth, then back at the images of war. Finally, Du Jin spoke again. You're saying that all this ability to fight, it comes from your history, from actually fighting wars. Yes, Hansol said, but there's something else you need to understand. He paused, making sure he had their full attention. What you saw at New Eden, that was us being gentle. Gentle. Several aliens spoke at once, disbelief in their voices. Those Marines followed strict rules of engagement. They used minimum necessary force. They took prisoners when possible. Hansol's voice grew serious. You haven't seen what happens when humans fight without restrictions. Without restrictions. Yi Jin looked confused. What do you mean? Hansol glanced at Sung Min, who nodded slowly. It was time to explain something the peaceful aliens had never needed to consider. "Have you ever heard of war crimes?" Hansol asked. The confused looks on the aliens' faces told him everything. They were about to learn just how deep humanity's relationship with warfare really went. The pirate fleet appeared above Hope Colony just as the sun was rising. 6 ships, bigger than the ones that attacked New Eden, dropped out of hyperspace. Their leader, a notorious raider known as Black Star, had heard about the defeat at New Eden, but didn't believe the stories. "These humans can't be that tough," Black Star told his crew. "The other pirates were weak. We are not." What Black Star didn't know was that Commander Jaiho and his Marines were waiting. After New Eden, they had guessed the pirates would try to prove themselves by attacking another human colony. The Marines had set a trap. "Contact," called out Jaiho's radar operator. 6 pirate vessels, heavy class. "They're moving toward the colony." Jaiho smiled. His ships were hidden behind Hope Colony's moon, engines cold and weapons ready. In orbit around the colony, several civilian ships moved about their normal business. They were actually marine vessels in disguise. "Let them get closer," Jaiho ordered. "Let them think it's going to be easy." The aliens from the Galactic Council watched from their observation ship at a safe distance. After the discussion about human warfare, they had asked to see how humans actually fought. Now they were about to get a demonstration. Black Star's ships moved confidently toward the colony. Their sensors showed only civilian ships and basic defense stations. It looked like an easy target. "Begin the attack," Black Star ordered. "Show these humans what real pirates can do." That's when the trap sprung. The civilian ships suddenly dropped their disguise, revealing heavy weapons. At the same time, Jaiho's fleet roared out from behind the moon, engines blazing. "By the stars," gasped Ambassador Yi-Jin, watching from the observation ship. They were waiting. The pirates found themselves caught between 2 forces of angry Marines. Their ships were bigger and had stronger shields, but they were surrounded. "This is Commander Jaiho of the Earth Marine Corps." A message boomed across all channels. "Surrender now, or we will open fire." Black Star laughed. "Our shields are too strong for your weapons." "Wrong answer," Jaiho said quietly. Then to his fleet, "All ships, weapons free. Show them what Marines can do." What happened next amazed the watching aliens. The Marine ships didn't just attack. They worked together like parts of one body. While some ships hammered the pirates' shields, others slipped through gaps in their formation. Marine boarding pods attached to the pirate ships like angry wasps. "Impossible," Black Star shouted as Marines cut through his ship's hull. "How are they moving so fast?" Inside the pirate ships, the Marines demonstrated why humans were feared warriors. They moved in perfect teams, checking corners, securing rooms, and capturing pirates with ruthless efficiency. "Look how they work together," Du Jin said in awe. "Each human knows exactly what to do." Ambassador Yi-Jin watched as Marines rescued captured colonists from one of the pirate ships. "They're not just fighting," she realized. "They're protecting." The battle lasted less than an hour. 5 pirate ships were captured. The 6th tried to run but didn't get far. When it was over, Commander Jaiho sent a message to all nearby space. "Let this be a lesson. Human colonies are not easy targets. We will protect our people. We will fight back. And we will win." In the observation ship, the aliens watched in stunned silence as Marines secured their prisoners and helped the colonists. "Now you understand," Captain Hansol said to them. "This is why we train, why we prepare. Not because we want to fight, but because we must be ready to protect what's ours." "But you showed mercy," Yi-Jin noted. "You took prisoners instead of destroying them." "Of course," Hansol replied. "We're Marines, not murderers. We use only the force needed to complete the mission. That's one of our rules." "Rules?" Du Jin asked. "You have rules for fighting." Hansol nodded seriously. "Many rules. Breaking them is what we call a war crime. And believe me, You don't want to learn about those the hard way. As the aliens watched Marines process prisoners and treat their wounds, they realized something important. Humans weren't just good at fighting. They were good at fighting with purpose. They had turned warfare into a science, with rules, limits, and goals. And that, perhaps, was the scariest thing of all. After the battle at Hope Colony, the Galactic Council gathered again. This time, they met in a special room where Captain Hansol had set up displays showing human military history. Ambassador Yi Jin and her team sat in the front row, eager to learn more about these strange warriors. "You mentioned war crimes," Yi Jin said. "What does this mean?" Hansol walked to the center of the room. Behind him, images showed different weapons and battle scenes from Earth's past. "Humans learned something important through our many wars," he began. "We learned that there must be limits to how we fight. Without rules, war becomes pure evil." "But why have rules in fighting?" Du Jin asked. "Isn't all fighting bad?" "Sometimes fighting is necessary," Hansol explained. "But how you fight matters just as much as why you fight." He touched a control, and the screen showed old footage of cities destroyed by bombs. "In our Second World War, we created weapons that could destroy entire cities," he continued. "We used them. The devastation was beyond words." The aliens watched in horror as they saw the destruction. Some covered their eyes. After that, Hansol said, "We made rules. Laws of war. Things that no soldier should ever do, no matter what." Some men stepped forward with their datapad. "For example, we don't use certain types of weapons anymore. No chemical weapons. No biological weapons. Nothing that causes unnecessary suffering. You have weapons you choose not to use." An alien council member asked, confused, "Even if they would help you win?" "Winning isn't everything," Hansol said firmly. "How you win matters. We protect civilians. We treat prisoners with respect. We give medical care to wounded enemies." He showed them more images: Marines building schools, treating wounded pirates, protecting civilian ships. "Breaking these rules is a war crime," he explained. "Any soldier who commits these crimes faces punishment, even if they were following orders." "But the pirates," Yi Jin said. "You could have destroyed them all. Your ships had the power." "We could have," Hansol agreed. "But that would make us no better than them. Marines use only the force needed to complete the mission. No more." Some men displayed a document on the large screen. "This is the Geneva Convention, one of our most important sets of rules for warfare. It tells us how to fight while keeping our humanity." The aliens read through the rules with growing surprise. No attacking civilians. No torture. No taking revenge. No destroying hospitals or schools. The list went on. "You limit your own power," Du Jin said slowly, "even though you could do more damage." "Especially because we could do more damage," Hansol corrected. "Great power requires great restraint." He walked over to a sealed case and opened it. Inside was an old rifle, worn but well maintained. "This was my grandfather's rifle," he said. "He fought in a war where both sides broke the rules, used chemical weapons, tortured prisoners, killed civilians. He saw what happens when warriors forget their humanity." The room was silent as Hansol continued. "That's why we have these laws now. That's why every Marine learns not just how to fight, but when not to fight, when to show mercy, when to help instead of harm." Ambassador Yi Jin stood up slowly. "So when we saw your Marines capture those pirates instead of killing them, they were following the rules of war," Hansol finished. "Using minimum force, taking prisoners when possible, protecting civilians." "And if someone breaks these rules?" Du Jin asked. Hansol's face grew serious. "Then they face trial, punishment, sometimes prison for life. War crimes are among the worst crimes a human can commit." The aliens looked at each other, finally understanding something important about humans. These warriors weren't just strong. They were strong enough to put limits on their own power. Perhaps Yi Jin said quietly, "We were wrong about humans being primitive. It takes great wisdom to make rules for warfare." "We learned this wisdom the hard way," Han Sol replied. "Through centuries of war. That's why we work so hard to keep peace now. Because we know exactly how terrible war can be when there are no rules." The Galactic Council spent a full week reviewing everything they had learned about humans. Du Jin sat in his office, surrounded by screens showing human military history. He hadn't slept much lately. There was too much to learn. "You look tired," Captain Han Sol said, entering the office with 2 cups of coffee. Earth's favorite drink had become popular among the aliens since first contact. "How could we have been so wrong?" Du Jin asked, taking the coffee. "We thought you were primitive because you had weapons. Now we realize you have weapons because you're not primitive." Han Sol sat down, looking at the screens. They showed Marines training, performing exercises, and helping with disaster relief across Earth's colonies. "Other species are asking for human military advisors now," Du Jin continued. "After what happened at Hope Colony, everyone wants to learn from Earth's Marines." "Are you worried about that?" Han Sol asked. "I was at first," Du Jin admitted. "But then I saw how your Marines teach. They don't just show how to fight. They teach when not to fight. They teach discipline." On one screen, Marines were practicing boarding operations. On another, they were building houses for refugees. The contrast wasn't lost on Du Jin. "Your soldiers, they're not just warriors, are they?" he asked. "Marines are whatever they need to be," Han Sol replied. "Warriors when there's fighting to be done. Builders when there's building to be done. Helpers when there's helping to be done." Ambassador Yi Jin entered the office, carrying new reports. Since the battles with the pirates, many alien species had started their own defense forces, all trained by human advisors. "The first joint exercises are ready to begin," she announced. 3 alien species want to train with Earth's Marines." "Which species?" Han Sol asked, curious. "The ones who were attacked by pirates before," Yi Jin said. "They don't want to be helpless anymore. They want to learn to protect themselves." Du Jin brought up new images on his screens. They showed alien ships being fitted with weapons based on human designs. But these weren't pirate vessels. They were defense ships built to protect their worlds. "We're changing," Du Jin said quietly. "The whole galaxy is changing because of humans." "Is that a bad thing?" Han Sol asked. "No," Yi Jin answered before Du Jin could speak. "We had peace before, yes. But it was a fragile peace. We couldn't defend it. We didn't know how." On another screen, alien soldiers trained alongside Marines. They learned not just fighting techniques, but also the rules of warfare, the importance of discipline, and the responsibility that came with power. "Your species surprised us," Du Jin said. "We thought having weapons meant you were violent. Now we understand that knowing how to fight doesn't mean you want to fight." "Sometimes," Han Sol replied, "the best way to prevent a fight is to be ready for one." A message flashed across the screens. More pirate activity had been detected at the edge of known space. But this time, something was different. The pirates weren't attacking. They were running away. "They've learned," Yi Jin said with a small smile. "Word has spread about what happened at Hope Colony. Now pirates avoid any system with human protection." "Protection," Du Jin repeated the word thoughtfully. "That's what we didn't understand before. Your weapons, your Marines, your military, it's all about protection." Han Sol stood and walked to the window. Outside, a joint patrol of human and alien ships moved through space. It was a sight that would have seemed impossible just months ago. "The galaxy is safer now," Yi Jin said. "Not because we eliminated violence, but because we learned to defend against it. Because humans taught us how." "And that," Du Jin added, "is why the Council has revised its assessment of humanity. You're not primitive at all. You're teachers, protectors, warriors who understand the price of peace." Han Sol watched the patrol ships disappear into the distance. Humans had changed the galaxy, yes. But maybe the galaxy had changed humans too. They were no longer Earth's only defenders. Now they were part of something bigger. So, he said, turning back to his alien friends, what else would you like to learn? 6 months after the Battle of Hope Colony, the Galactic Defense Coalition held its first official meeting. Representatives from 20 alien species sat around a large table, with Captain Hansol at its head. The room buzzed with excitement as they prepared to change how the galaxy handled security. The pirates have gone quiet, Hansol began, pointing to a map of known space. But they're still out there. We need to be ready. Ambassador Yijin, now the coalition's deputy leader, stood up. Thanks to human training, our joint forces are growing stronger every day. Show them, Captain. Hansol touched a control, and the room's hologram showed different alien ships practicing marine tactics. Some looked very different from human vessels, but they all moved with the same purpose and discipline. Last week, our joint patrol stopped a pirate attack before it even started, Hansol said. The pirates saw our ships and ran away. No shooting needed. That's the best kind of victory, Commander Jaiho added from his seat. He had been promoted after Hope Colony and now led the Coalition's training program. Du Jin, who had become the Coalition's chief researcher, brought up new images. They showed alien soldiers learning from Marine instructors, practicing not just fighting, but also rescue operations and disaster response. We've learned that being strong isn't just about having weapons, Du Jin explained. It's about knowing when and how to use them. The humans call this deterrence. A young alien officer raised her hand. Is it true that human Marines are teaching us their special rules? The ones about war crimes? Yes, Hansol answered. Every coalition member must agree to follow the laws of warfare. No exceptions. The hologram changed to show a new kind of ship. It was bigger than a marine vessel, but had the same strong build. Along its side were words in both human and alien languages. GDC Peace Guardian. This is our first joint-designed peacekeeping vessel, Jaiho explained. It has human weapons, alien shields, and space for both species to work together. And look at this, Yijin added proudly. She showed footage of alien and human crews working side by side on these new ships. They moved like one team, understanding each other's strengths. But the best news, Hansol said, is what's not happening. Pirates aren't just avoiding human space anymore. They're avoiding coalition space too. They know we protect our own. The room filled with happy sounds as the representatives shared this victory. But Hansol wasn't finished. There's more, he continued. 3 former pirate groups have surrendered. They want to join legitimate trade instead of fighting. They saw that they can't win against us, so they chose a better path. Du Jin brought up more statistics. Trade was up. Attacks were down. More species were joining the coalition every month. We're not just stopping pirates, he said. We're changing how the galaxy thinks about protection, about strength, about peace. Commander Jaiho stood up next. Starting next month, we're opening the first Galactic Defense Academy. Any species that joins the coalition can send students to learn from human and alien teachers. What will they learn? Someone asked. Everything, Jaiho answered. How to fight, when not to fight, how to protect, how to help. The same things every Marine learns. Hansol looked around the room at all the different species working together. Some looked very strange to human eyes, but they all shared the same goal now. A year ago, he said, most of you thought humans were primitive because we had weapons. Now you understand that having weapons isn't what matters. It's how you use them that counts. Yijin added, and why you use them. For protection, for peace, for helping others. As the meeting ended, Hansol watched the representatives leave. Each one wore a new symbol, a combination of human and alien designs that meant peace through strength. You know what the pirates call coalition space now? Jaiho asked him. What? The safe zone, Jaiho said with a smile. Because they know we protect our people. All our people. Han Solo looked out at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, human and alien ships patrol together, keeping the peace. It wasn't the galaxy he had expected when he first met the aliens, but maybe it was something better. 1 year after first contact, the Galactic Council held a special ceremony. Humans were no longer just members. They were being honored as teachers and protectors of galactic peace. Captain Han Solo stood on the stage, looking at the crowd of humans and aliens sitting together. A year ago, he began, "You thought we were primitive because we knew how to fight. Now you understand that knowing how to fight, and choosing not to, is true strength." In the front row, Ambassador Yi Jin and Du Jin nodded. They had come so far from their first frightened reactions to human military power. Now they helped run the most successful peacekeeping force the galaxy had ever seen. "Look at what we've built together," Han Solo continued, as images appeared behind him. They showed the changes of the past year. Coalition ships protecting trade routes, former pirates working honest jobs, human and alien crews serving together, Marines teaching alien soldiers, joint rescue missions saving lives. Commander Jai-Ho stepped up next. He now led the Galactic Defense Academy, where species from across the galaxy learn to protect their homes. "Our latest class has students from 30 different worlds," he announced proudly. "They learn more than just fighting. They learn when to fight, when to talk, and when to help." Sung Min, who had become the Coalition's chief historian, displayed new data on the big screen. Pirate attacks are down 90%. Trade is up 40%. And most importantly, species that never talked before are now working together. In orbit above the Council world, the Coalition's new flagship patrolled. Its crew was half human, half alien. They called it the Star Guardian, and it represented everything the Coalition stood for. Strength with purpose, power with restraint. But the biggest change, Han Solo said, isn't in our ships or our weapons. It's in how we think about peace. He showed an image of a recent incident. A group of raiders had tried to attack a small colony. But instead of fighting, they saw the Coalition ships and surrendered. They knew they would be treated fairly, even as prisoners. "This is real peace," Han Solo explained. "Not just the absence of fighting, but the presence of justice, of protection, of rules that everyone follows." Ambassador Yi Jin stood to speak next. "We thought we had peace before humans joined us, but it was a fragile peace, built on hope alone. Now we have strong peace, built on readiness and rules." Du Jin added his own report. "More species join the Coalition every month, not because they're afraid, but because they want to help protect others. They want to learn the human way, strength with wisdom." The ceremony continued as Han Solo presented awards to human and alien crews who had served together. Each team had stories of helping others, stopping conflicts, and making space safer for everyone. "A year ago," Han Solo said near the end, "some of you were afraid when you learned about war crimes. You thought it meant humans were violent. Now you understand. Having rules for fighting makes us more civilized, not less." The crowd applauded as the first graduating class of the Defense Academy marched in. Humans and aliens in matching uniforms, all trained to protect and serve. They had learned everything, from combat skills to rescue operations to the laws of warfare. "This is the future," Han Solo said, gesturing to the graduates. "Not just humans teaching aliens, but all of us working together, learning from each other, making the galaxy better." As the ceremony ended, Han Solo stood with his friends, Yi Jin, Du Jin, Jai-Ho, and Sung Min. They watched the graduates celebrating with their families, all species mixing together. "Did you ever think it would turn out like this?" Yi Jin asked. "When you first met us?" Han Solo smiled. "I hoped it would. Humans learned our lessons about war the hard way. We wanted to help others learn them the easy way." "And now?" Du Jin asked. "Now we're all guardians," Han Solo replied. "Not just of our own worlds, but of each other, of peace itself. As night fell, the Star Guardian's lights shone bright above them. It was more than just a ship now. It was a symbol of what humans and aliens could achieve together. Not just peace, but protected peace. Not just rules, but wisdom. The galaxy had changed, and it had changed for the better.